if you get the,
If I'm not mistaken, the one
did you get the camera fixed?
No, the camera's not
You gonna
fixed
video us tonight?
yet. Working with, and I'll talk a little bit later about it with Hames Pro, but we do know what needs to be done now. And so,
when paper was sold. Yeah.
You videoed it tonight?
we have the display and we have audio currently streaming right now on YouTube.
Okay. Okay, y'all ready? Call the meeting in order. In compliance with the Federal Information Act, notice this meeting was committed by fax to the Spartanburg Herald Journal, posted on the bulletin board and lobby of Town Hall and on Town's website. We'll now have the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for the many blessings that you've given to this town. I want you to give us a clear and open mind as to what business we need to take care of tonight and guide us in the way we need to go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, we now have presentations from both CCNI and BLE Corp. For who have put in proposals for the building inspection and code enforcement. First, we have Jimmy Ladd with BLE.
Good evening. Of course, my name is Jimmy Ladd. I'm with Bunnell Emmons Engineering. We're a construction services, thank you, sir. Construction services, geotechnical engineering, environmental company. We provide all of the services that you guys have requested: plan review, permitting, inspection services. So with that being said, I know you all have the document in front of you. Open the floor to any questions or comments that you may have.
Do you do all of these services in-house? Is there anything required by town employees or town staff?
Everything is in the house. We can handle everything in-house.
That's what I thought.
If somebody applies for a permit, how long do you think it would take to get the permit?
Depends on the complexity, of course, but typically we have things back within 24, 48 hours.
How effective, you're doing code enforcement as well, how effective have you been in helping the town enforce some of the trickier code issues? I'm sure you've seen it all. Do you have?
A little bit of everything, but they, typically it's how you deal with things and approach people, right? So if there are issues, you just try to bring them to light and make sure that to the best of your ability, help that person understand why it's done that way. I think being, I'll say, customer service oriented helps ease over some of those concerns that the citizens may have. And if you can walk them through why and how the ordinances help everybody, then it seems to go over a lot better that way.
One of the big problems I think we have is we've got some blighted properties. We're unsure of who the owner is or where the owner is. How far do you go to track those people down to serve them with notices if they live out of state? Or, what's the limit?
Well, honestly, that's a good question. I mean, as far as you want us to go at that point, so, of course, we've got lawyers and, you know, code enforcement officials and all that can track that stuff down, so.
Okay.
Again, it is a resource and it's based off of, you know, basically I say a time and materials type thing when you get to that point, so however long or how much effort is needed to put in there, we can.
I understand.
Mr. Ladd,
Yes, sir.
back to the building permits and inspections.
Yes, sir.
Your offices are located in Greenville?
So we have multiple offices. So we've currently opened an office in downtown Spartanburg. So we are roughly, I think it's 17 minutes from our office in Spartanburg to town hall right here. So, but yeah, I've got offices. Our corporate headquarters is in Greenville, right off of 385 and 85. So we've got pretty much good travel distance anywhere we go. Spartanburg office, Columbia office, so we've got plenty of resources.
Okay, so in your Spartanburg office, you have people that do the building inspections from Spartanburg?
Yes, sir. Yeah, our staff will be local.
Okay.
So would you designate one person to the town to come from, or will it be different people each time?
I'm glad you asked that. Actually, in the packet, I have 2 individuals that would kind of oversee building official duties. I have not specifically picked a inspector yet, but yeah, you would have 1 or 2 as kind of a backup there, so the town people would get familiar with those individuals.
Okay.
And be able to call them direct and, you know, stuff like that.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions?
Do you mind if I ask some questions?
What?
Do you mind if I ask some questions?
Yes, sir.
So the process right now is, complaint comes in for, say, code enforcement, and would you want to have it set up so that the complaints come to you, or will they still come to town hall, and then we report to you that we need you to go out and take these 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 properties that need to be looked at for code enforcement?
You know, that's honestly a town preference, so we can work with either way.
Okay.
Some places we work with want it to come directly through you guys, that way you have a log of what's there. But if you prefer it to come to us, we can do that and just document it and let you guys know.
Then once that comes through, you know, we go out there, inspect, take pictures. You know, at the end of the day, at least, and I don't want to speak for council, but at least from my perspective for code enforcement, I don't think the town's really in the business to try to make money off code enforcement. We're just trying to clean up the town.
Yes, sir.
And so the biggest thing is being able to have that friendly conversation with somebody and say, you know, what would it take for you to be able to fix this? Or how much time do you need to fix that?
Yes,
And
sir.
so making sure that's your approach, kind of working with people, and then instead of, you messed up, here's your letter, here's your fine, that sort of stuff.
No, though, that would never be our approach. So our approach is, you know, we're an extension of the town, and ultimately, everybody in here knows each other, right? So we don't want complaints coming back into you guys and saying, hey, these guys are too pushy or something like that. We've got a job to do, but it's how you approach it. So you talk to the individual, you let them know why and how, and then try to figure out a solution to help them correct it.
One issue that's coming up, and I want to make sure council's aware of this too, is we have some of those who absolutely refuse to fix the problem or show up to court. And we have a list of people right now that are currently on bench warrants. And it may be more of a conversation with council is how far do we go with this? Or is there other avenues or some other ways of trying to work with people? Because at the end of the day, we just want someone to come in and say, hey, you know, how can we work together on getting things accomplished. The last thing that we want to do is put somebody in handcuffs, put them in jail, or even
Absolutely.
collect a fine, because collecting a fine doesn't fix anything.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. Well, again, it's how you approach it with people. Most of the time, if you try to explain the circumstances and are not overbearing when doing it and be this strict enforcement agency, I guess you'd say, people kind of understand and learn. I mean, there are always going to be some that will not care one way or the other. And at that point, it really is up to you guys as how far you want to go with that process.
One last thing on there, I didn't see this in your proposal on here. If the town of Packlet does work, so for instance, we recently did a renovation on Town Hall. Is that something where the town would end up being charged a permit fee and then, or is there, what ends up happening on a situation where the town owns the property that the permit is being issued for?
Okay, so how we've handled this in the past, and to me, it's just customer service. You know, if the town has a property, you're still required to pull permits. It's all required. As a company, we waive those fees. So you guys don't pay for those inspections.
And that's the way it currently is with our setup.
I have a question. I see here there is a cost of $100 an hour to attend council meetings. With other municipalities, do you always attend theirs, or can you send the information that would be required for us? Because as of now, used to, but they don't now. They just send the information, to us unless they're required for whatever reason to be here in person.
Yeah, that's just the way it was worded in the RFP as far as, there would be requirements to come and stand and spend time. So, yeah, we can absolutely send documentation that way, should that be the way y'all want to go.
One thing that was mentioned in there was, as we develop the Construction Board of Appeals and something does come up, whomever corporation we move forward with would have to come up there and represent the town at those meetings. And so if you did, then that would be
That's where those rates
that
come
rate
into play.
comes in on there.
Yes, sir.
Or if you need to come to council and describe more information than what's in a packet or a proposal or something, or your monthly reports.
Yeah, that's correct. And if, look, we're never going to double dip, right? So if we're in town, so if you look, you'll see how our fees are split. If we're already in town, then those fees don't apply. It's if we're coming here and spending a couple of hours or something like that, that's where that rate applies.
And then one last thing I'd like to ask is the management program. If you can kind of talk a little about, you've got something in-house that I think that you use. What we don't want to have a situation is you have a code enforcement person who is riding around and writing on a piece of notebook paper and then coming in and verbally giving that information to town. You're keeping up with when you went there, what happened, what were the pictures, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir. So currently we have software, in-house software. There's tons of different software, and I put it in the proposal, that is used all over the state, all over the U.S. It's really a preference of what people want. So we don't try to, say, pigeonhole you into one type of software. We can track everything without purchasing any other type of software, so it would be no additional cost to you guys. And it's all electronic, so there's no hand and papers and stuff like that. So, and we can do that on a regular basis or intervals, however you guys see fit.
The way it's currently set up in the town's ordinance is once a complaint is identified, a letter or a notice is sent out to the property owner. They have 15 days to fix the problem. After 15 days, then you'd go back out there, verify that it's either been taken care of or hasn't been taken care of, and then at that point, it's something the town hasn't done yet, but has the ability to have your code enforcement officer issue a ticket or a summons, either right there or mail it in. But that would be the next process, and then y'all would come in and represent the town in court
Yes, sir.
for that process. Okay.
Yes, sir. And when we go out, every report is fully documented with what the issue was, of course, photographs, so it's documented, pictures worth 1,000 words, right? The section of the code that it's violating, of course, the section of the ordinance that it's violating. And then deficiency logs, I'll keep a deficiency log that says the date that it was, found, the date that it was re-inspected, and what was, come of that, so.
One more question on there. The way we currently do building inspections and the application of the permit fees on there, it's, in some places you can just write down, I'm gonna do $5,000 worth of work. And with a repair, it's that's kind of how you go on there. But if it's a brand new construction, brand new property, the way the town currently has approved is uses the ICC BVD.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that BLE?
Yes, sir.
does?
Same thing, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wouldn't change whatsoever.
Do you, the fee schedules, you okay with the fee schedules we have, or how do you?
Yes, sir. I mentioned in here that we can work off of your current fee schedules. There are a few things in there that I think you're probably a little low on that I could bring to your attention. But ultimately, that's a town decision, and my staff can work within what you've got.
One thing that's in your proposal here is the 70 cents a mile. Do you have any idea how many miles do you expect that to end up being?
Honestly, that I could not tell you. So also, what I will say is none of that is commuter. So when we come to town, we'll start here at Town Hall, and then that fee would be billed from Town Hall.
Okay, so that's not from your office?
That's not from my office, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Yeah, and that's sometimes it's done one way or the other. I have the discretion to be able to waive that one way, and I feel it's most fair to start here in town and do town business, and that's where the mileage would pick up. From there to here is on me.
Any more questions? Anybody? Appreciate it, Jimmy.
Yes, sir. Thank you all. Appreciate you having me, and look forward to hearing back from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next presentation is CC and I. Wayne Willis will be coming and presenting.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing?
I'm not as tall. So, as he said, I'm Wayne Willis with CC&I. Honestly, I feel like home. I grew up here, so. You've got a booklet in front of you with the RFP information on it, and so that I can read it with you, I'll put these on. And I'm really good with Q&A, but I'm gonna go over this really quick, okay? So we provide building department services all over the state. Currently, we have 25 jurisdictions that we take care of. As you look at your document, you see the firm summary here about how long we've been in business, how many people we have. We have another inspector who's starting Monday that's going to take our master code professional. We have 5 of those currently. We'll have 6. There's less than 900 in the country. We have 12 building officials. I think I got that right. It's 11 or 12. And we've just been providing, I've been a building inspector for almost 20 years. When we go over to Department of Building Safety. So we will provide your permitting services, take care of all your building department needs. All that is handled through our office, through the software that is provided. Our software that we use, they will submit that information through the portal. We even do it as PDFs. We went so far as to someone who could not, didn't have email, so we just mailed them an application with a return envelope. Believe it or not, there are some people out there that don't have email or any way to do things, but, so we just do whatever it takes to take care of that person. So they submit the plan for the permit. Those are reviewed, and to be honest with you, I know you asked about how long it takes to issue a permit. If all the documentation is provided, it usually takes 24 hours. What most times slows them down is they don't send in the business license information. They don't, if we don't have a business license, we don't issue a permit. We don't have zoning approval, we don't issue a permit. A lot of times that documentation is not provided, which slows everything down. All the payments, everything come through the office, so there wouldn't be anything that would be required of the staff of Packlet. We have 2 permit techs, a scheduler. I'm hoping to have another scheduler this week. We're interviewing currently. And so everything is handled in-house. There isn't anything that would be required of the town, as I said. So plan reviews, typically we have plan reviews for residential structures. We do require that residential structures send in plan reviews. All that really takes is for us to give us something that shows, or the permit applicant, to show what this house is, square footage, where the bedrooms are going. We don't want to get in something that says it's a 1,800 square foot house, and then when the inspector goes out, it's 2,400. That's the reason for that. Now, the second reason for doing a plan review for residential is your ISO rating. So the ISO actually rates your building department. If you get a 99, that's non-compliant. Your insurance rates go up. If your ISO ratings are good, your insurance rates go down. And the process of being audited is, it takes a lot of time, believe me. The plan reviews for commercial typically are completed within 10 business days. Now that, of course, is depending on the complexity of the commercial project. You know, hospital takes longer, or the Walmart that we did in Lyman, that took a little bit longer. But usually, compared to most jurisdictions, like the Berkeley County, they're 6 months behind. So they actually get us to do some of their plan reviews so they can get sped up. So you can get about 10 days on your commercial review as we go along. We're talking about the inspection services there. So if they call in for an inspection, or once they use the portal, if it's a contractor that does a lot of business, they can enter their information in. They're in there, they can sit at home at 10 o'clock at night, and they can do an application. They can also ask for inspections. As long as it's received before 4 p.m. the day before the inspection is the very next business day. Now, we went on to code enforcement. So we'll provide the code enforcement services. You see the cost there that's associated with that. I heard a question about the code enforcement officer, so I'll just brag on mine for a second. So when Clark got started, and that would be the guy that does the code enforcement here, when Clark got started on that, he asked me what he needed to do. So I asked him, had he ever gotten a speeding ticket before? And he said, yes. So well, when you got done, what did you tell the police officer? He said, thank you. So that's what I want you to work for and strive for as a code enforcement officer. So if you go out and you've got something that's going on with a property owner that's an ordinance issue, then you need to explain that to them, and when you leave, you get a thank you. That's how you work as a team. So I'll continue with bragging on Clark. Clark did code enforcement for Woodruff, and the very year that he was there, he was given the Employee of the Year award. Now, when I talked to their manager, I said, well, Lee, he's not even your employee, so don't care. That's what everybody said that we should do, and they voted for Clark. Clark won the won the Employee of the Year, and he's employed with CC&I. So I went over the ISO rating there. You also got the building schedule here, which when you talk, our building fee schedule, when you talk about building fee schedules, our building fee schedule for this jurisdiction is basically based off exactly what Spartanburg County's is. Before you started with the third party, that's what everyone was paying. That should be what everybody's paying now. It shouldn't be a sticker shock when you decide to do your own building department and you move away from Spartanburg County. That's just my belief. That's exactly what we do at every jurisdiction that we do. Now, of course, it's up to council to decide what they want those fees to be. Most of them use these fees that you're actually looking at here, about 75% on the ones that we provide services for. They use those. To me, they're the most fair. They're most simplistic. There's a few that decided to raise them up that was in Charleston County, but that was their choice. And basically, that's pretty much it, so I am ready for any questions you may have.
Questions? Anybody with questions?
Mine's still the same question. I see you have a lot of employees. Are you gonna designate one or two just for the town?
No, ma'am, I won't designate one, I'll designate the ones that are the most close. This is the closest to the town. Now, that
Okay.
may be two, and likely it will be two because of where Packlet is located. But I won't designate just one, and the reason being for that, if that one is out sick, or I had one that had hip replacement surgery not long ago, he was out 6 weeks. But what we try to do in-house is we're all the same. All of our inspectors, they talk to each other, we're a team. And if Packlet chose to get us to provide services, we're a team with the town of Packlet. So we're just as much a part of Packlet and Packlet as Packlet is. So that's how I have to answer that question, is whichever person that I've got that's the closest, they'll actually come by. Typically, it's gonna be one of two.
Okay, so I'm reading, here that there's a minimum of 5 hours
On the code
on
enforcement,
the
yes,
code
ma'am.
enforcement, correct? And are you okay with the town waiting till they get a list
I
of
suggest it.
properties to give you, so that when you come out, you can spend that 5 hours just doing that versus coming out 1 or 2 times to check 1 or 2 properties at a time? You okay with that?
Yes, ma'am. I suggest it. We want to be a good steward for the town. We don't want to take advantage of the town, and there's no need to do that. Now, sometimes, in some of the jurisdictions, they have, something they consider emergency. But now also keep in mind too, if you've got something that's going on and one of my inspectors here to do an inspection, we'll just send him by to take care of it. And there's no charge for that. He's already here. But most places, they do. We have I'm gonna say that it's about 50-50. Some jurisdictions have us there once a week. Other jurisdictions only do it on a complaint basis.
Got you.
So, yes, ma'am, to answer your question.
Well, I just wanted to follow up with that because that was the same question I was gonna ask. So, and as you said too, April, how long would it might take us to get 4 or 5 houses, before they do come out? That could be weeks or whatever, but in the meantime, someone may need the attention of a code enforcement, but yet it's still gonna be at a minimum of the 5 hours. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. So, but what I have to say to that is when I send that inspector out, he's getting paid. And so I have to make sure that when we come out, that we're getting some sort of a minimum. So, of course, that we can have payroll to take care and pay for this code enforcement guy.
I
So, yeah.
understand that, but sometimes something might need the attention, and it's what I'm saying, and it had to be 5 hours, but how long would it take us to get enough houses for it to take 5 hours to drive by to do a code enforcement? That's what I'm saying.
Well, if you had something that you need, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, no, I'm just trying to see, well, I don't know that we would have enough houses for however amount of time before it could add up to the 5 hours being worth the $75 an hour at a minimum of 5 hours to come out. A house may need to be taken attention to, but then, we're gonna need to wait until we got 2, 3, 4, 5 others.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go with an example. Maybe give me an example of what you speak of. Well, when you say the house.
May I answer this? That has never happened.
No, that's what I'm saying. We've not.
And I'll give you an example.
Had a house that needs to be ticketed, and then however much longer it is before, we need to send a code enforcement there, or that one needs attention over there. They've just been seen when we've had the complaint or the issue.
Just to kind of give you an example, just recently with our current company, we had some rechecks. We had held everything off during the storm, and they had 83 properties to check out. So Yes, we do not have a shortage.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's
And most,
along with Helene, I don't know, with,
most code enforcement is not considered an emergency.
Right.
It has to be a 24-hour or 48-hour, it can be a 5-day or 10-day wait
Yeah.
period on code enforcement.
but I was just looking at the length of time it would take, or,
Well, let's use an example of maybe a home that has damage to it, and the home needs to be condemned. That would be taken care of by the building department. So I would drive down here if need be to take care of that, because now we're talking about a life safety issue, not an ordinance issue. So that kind of helps answer the question in the
well,
sense of
something about,
emergency.
you know, maybe somebody's grass or there's trash in the yard and, you know, and it's been there, but, you know, we're not gonna call you now to have someone come look at it because it's not gonna take 5 hours to do that. So now we're gonna have to wait until there's another complaint or we see
Well,
something else that needs,
go back to Patrick, what Patrick said, you know, we hadn't ever had that because we have enough of them to take care of that. You know, it's not,
I would love for the town to be in a situation where we're only having one a month or one every 2 or 3 months. That would be at the point where we
well,
need
I guess
to,
maybe if I saw a list of those coming in, I could get more
Absolutely.
of an idea of, cause I'm not aware that there is that many.
Well, the hope and the plan is to have it to where they become less and less and less. Because once you start doing code enforcement, neighbors talk. And so, you know, and code enforcement is only as good as what the town is willing to provide to us in enforcing it. And we have some towns, we have one right now that has 254 code enforcement violations. Not one has been to the magistrate's office, not one. So they're always gonna have code enforcement issues. But once you start doing them, they'll stop.
and then you'll have some that'll happen throughout the process. And you've got some that are just being reported, you'll have some that you're going back out and re-inspecting. There'll be some that, like I mentioned before, is we're trying to have that conversation with the property owner to try to fix this or try to work on it. What I have done many times with property owners is say, they'll say, I don't live in the area, I'm gonna be here next weekend, can you wait? Absolutely. You'll be here next weekend, I'll make sure that over the next week or two, I'll have someone come by and check that out. And so they'll add that to their list. But if we ever get to the point where we only have one every few days, we can get rid of this company. I mean, no offense, we can get rid of.
It's fact.
Well, I know at the beginning of this, we did get a list of those complaints, but that's stopped. So I have no clue as to how many complaints as far as, you know, code enforcement is getting complaints in. And then to go back to your statement where you just said you had over 250 something in one particular town and not one of them have gone to court. We've been with this particular agency now for 2 years. And just as he stated earlier, we have some now that have bench warrants. No, they haven't gone to court, but we haven't seen any success in getting anything done. And it sounds like you're saying that you had gotten things done, or those that you have spoken with, the matter has been handled. So how would you handle it to whereas right now where we're sitting here with people having bench warrants on them and the matter's not been settled, and where it sounds like you're saying that yours has been settled?
Well, I'll give an example of that. One city that we had a tire store that they had been working on for 4 years to just clean up the tires. It became a fire hazard for the church next door. Clark, that I'd mentioned earlier, convinced him to get that cleaned up. It took 4 months, but they cleaned it up. So our success rate is there, and it's because of the way Clark works with people. You know, when you go out, you can't go out with a badge on your chest and your chest poked out and try to voice authority. You go out and you let them know that this is a team. How can we fix this? You don't use you, it's we. So he acts and he works with them as a team to try to get things done. And an example, kind of like what he had brought up. So when you talk to someone and you say, okay, we're gonna give you 15 days to do this. Well, I don't have 15 days. Well, how many days would you need? You know, and as long as it's within reason, you work with that person. Because once you work with them, they can't say that you never did. Now, of course, a lot of times they'll accuse you of that, but That's not what the documentation shows. And so our permitting software that we talked about earlier, it has code enforcement on it as well. So a code enforcement officer keeps that and that information, and it is accessible for the town to view. So at any point in time, you can go in there, you can review whatever the violation is, as well as photos and all the other information, like letters that's been sent to them. All that actually is through that software. So there's documentation, even documentation when an email letter is sent. So you can even tell them, you know, the letter was sent on Wednesday.
A big thing that whomever ends up taking over that will take off the burden for staff is tracking people down. You would not believe the number of people who don't live here, and we have to track them down. There's no phone number. We send stuff to their home address. It gets pushed back. It goes to their P.O. box. They don't get it. We have one property owner in town that owns 3 properties, and he lives in England. And he comes to town once a year. And so that's our one time to work with him.
Well, isn't that what our current,
He is a,
code enforcement's supposed to be doing anyway?
ma'am?
That's what our current one is supposed to be doing anyway?
What our
Isn't that
current
what-
one has been doing right now, and the way our process has been working, is that they're basically just a visual extension of us. They go out, they'll go out and identify a problem and report back to the town. We send the letters out, we manage the system, we let them know when they need to go back out and re-inspect. So all the management and stuff is all done here in Town Hall. We have very extensive Excel spreadsheets and stuff to try to manage this.
Our ladies have the burden of keeping up with all the paperwork.
Well, I thought that's what the other one was doing.
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't have that anymore.
All right, clarify that. On all the code enforcement, y'all take care of all the clerical part of it and all the record keeping?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One thing that was not mentioned that I saw in here was if you end up having to come to town hall, if you end up having to, do a presentation or something like that,
Attend
what,
the appeal,
Sir.
or attend an appeal.
or attend the appeal, exactly. I didn't see anything on your proposal about additional cost on that.
It wouldn't be. If it's code enforcement, then there would be a fee. If it's got something to do with plans, plan reviews, permits, things of that nature, there is no fee. That's my job as a building official.
If we had to have you come up here 3 months, 4 months into things and do a presentation to council, what's the charge for that?
As far as the building department or code enforcement, that would only be the difference.
It would be only, so it'd be, I guess, the building official or whomever needs to come up here, or if you're the person, if you need to do a presentation, if council has some questions for CCNI and they want to talk to the person in charge and you come up here, what is that charge to council?
There's no charge.
Okay.
That's part of the service.
Any other questions?
And I want, same thing, and I asked the previous person, is if the town of Packlet does work on their own properties, how is the fee set up for that?
There is no fee. Still need permits. And the reason why we need permits is so we have documentation of everything that goes on that protects CCNI as well as the town. But there is no charge for Packlet owned on work.
Is that all, Patrick?
I'm sorry, that's it.
That's it? Anybody else? Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments? We have Ms. Kim Peterson.
Hello. I have a complaint about RSI and Mr. Jones. And I don't know if you're going to beat around the bush because you're getting rid of the company, but that guy came on my property without being to be on my property. I wasn't even home. He's banging on the door. He made the plumbers come and answer the door, and that's wrong. He's not a code enforcement only. He's not certified. So where does he get off going round? And if a plumber's truck's there, that could have been, who knows, in my house. He has no right to be on my property. And he stopped an hour and a half of my plumber for a water leak. A code 10521 says, for a water leak, you do not stop emergencies and no stop work. So I think RSI or the town needs to pay an hour and a half of my plumbing. This was uncalled for. And I don't know what has been done, was said Patrick was gonna take and check into it. Nobody's called me back. I talked to Blackwell, left him a message. He hasn't called me back, nothing's been done. Why is this guy going around properties, and I'm not the only one, and doing what he's doing, when he does not even certified at all? So when I'm at work, I have to worry about my house? No. Wonder if that was a robber and my plumber had to answer the door and he got shot. I just think something's got to be done with this RSI and that Jones. That Jones is way out of line. So I just want to know if Patrick has checked into it. What is? I'm going to be talking to this Gary Foster, and if nothing's done, I don't care if you're getting rid of the company. I'm going to the newscast, because nobody should have to come home to this at all. It was like a violation. You know, I have $6,000 that I'm going to be paying out for a water leak. And I have to pay an hour and a half of them just sitting there. If the guy's a code enforcement, he should have known 10521, you do not stop permit on a water leak, if he knows his damn codes. So I don't think he should be gone in that company.
Thank you. Need approval of minutes, December 5th, 2024.
Motion to approve minutes December 5th, 2024.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes of December 5th, 2024. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Department reports. Town administrator.
Yes, wanted to make sure to remind y'all that the statement of economic interest is due February 15th. I've done the one for the town. I've done the one for myself. If y'all need help going through that process, I can walk you through that. And there is a section on there that I believe you can set it up where it just says copy previous year into this year. Like I said, that needs to be done, and I want y'all to understand that you get the fine, not the town of Packlet. Just making sure you know that. Still working with Hames Pro to come back and link the cameras to use for council meetings. They came by today, actually, and we believe we have a workaround to make it work so that the issue that we're having right now is not being able to toggle between the cameras and the presentation. And so, as of right now, when the public sees, they only hear what's going on and they can see what's on your screens right now, but they can't see you or who's talking. And that's what's being fixed and what we're working through right now. And I believe they've got a solution to this. I am hopeful that it'll be done by the next meeting. But we have held final payment on some stuff to fix all of that. The ramp has been installed. I wanted y'all to see it. If y'all like the color and the look of it, we can keep it there. If you don't, I can go ahead and get the Public Works crew to store that down in the basement. But I wanted you to know that it's installed, it's there. There's a couple more things like the railings are gonna be installed. And then by ADA code, we're gonna have some listening devices so that if someone comes in and they are hard of hearing, that they will have a little earpiece that they can put in their ear and they can listen to either council meetings. It's mainly for court.
Say that again, Patrick, gonna get what?
Listening devices. So if you think about going in some museums, they have a little thing that you can walk around and you can hear what's happening there, but it'll basically be like a little earpiece and a little box that goes with it, and it'll have what is on these speakers will be going through that box, and they can turn the volume up or down based on their hearing needs.
Before you move on from that point, I, for one, would like the ramp stowed away until we need it. And I'd
Okay.
also like a date on when these last details are gonna be completed, the railing, and they're, I assume, gonna put a finished step where this ramp is.
The agreement with Lyles was to put a step at the very end once the ramp is removed. And there'll be a railing here, and I'm not sure, but I think they may be having to put a railing over there as well.
Can we pressure them for a date? Because
Yes.
it's been months. Yeah.
So are you asking for the railing to be removed until we?
Not the railing, the ramp.
I mean, the ramp.
Yeah, it's just stowed away until we need it, if we need it. That's my preference, just because I think aesthetically it's not preferable.
It's up to y'all. If y'all want to keep the ramp, we can keep the ramp. If you don't want to keep the ramp,
Yeah, aesthetically.
Don't bother me.
what would happen is the ramp would be gone, and then you would have a step in that location instead of the ramp.
Okay.
Ramp goes or ramp stays. I'm planning on removing the ramp,
Storing it, you talking about?
storing it.
Store it.
So the idea was we had to have that so that if any one of y'all or future council members or the judge was handicapped, we had to have that provided. If something happens and any of y'all become handicapped or future council members are handicapped or the judge is handicapped, it will come back.
I'm storing.
Me too.
West Main Street was closed due to high winds. We had some metal that was coming off the top of the roof at railroad buildings. I'd like a little bit of your feedback on this. We had talked about at one point trying to find some way to salvage these things. I'm not sure if that's going to be feasible, but that's just my opinion. I'd like to be able to talk to Norfolk Southern and see what options are out there, including removing the buildings from the property. Do y'all have any feedback on how y'all feel about those 3 buildings that are up there?
My personal opinion, if we're going to have a code enforcement for our citizens, then anything that we're responsible for should meet code also. So I would, my personal opinion is contact Norfolk Southern about either bringing those up to code or removing them.
I agree.
I would love to see the buildings refurbished and be up to code from a visual standpoint. I hate to lose old stuff like that to deterioration, but we can't go out here and issue citations to our citizens when things that we're responsible for don't meet those standards.
Well, they'd be liable in the event someone could have had an accident there.
Does our lease actually include the buildings or the land around the buildings? Because at one point it was just the land around the buildings. Does it include the buildings now?
I believe the buildings are part of it because we have basically a land lease on the property itself.
Okay.
Consult with Norfolk Southern and see what they prefer to do with it since they actually own it, and then we'll have to,
Would we have been liable if someone would have been injured with that? Would we be liable for that?
Yep.
We would? Okay.
I know that, we'd like to keep those buildings, but, I don't think we can spend the money to, bring them up, to even close to code. And, I think, probably need to look at, removing them.
The other thing that I wanted to, so I'll go ahead and have the conversation with them. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, I didn't put it on here because it just recently came up. Tomorrow, the town in the upstate is expecting some winter weather to come through. The police department has the authority, if they need to shut down Hotel Hill, if it becomes icy and snowy. And so when that happens, truck traffic will be diverted up Montgomery and Stone. That was when y'all approved the ordinance to block off Stone and Montgomery. It was included in there to, during winter weather, DOT or police could shut down Hotel Hill due to safety reasons and divert traffic the other direction. So if you look out there, you'll see that barricades and detour signs have already been placed out there. And that'll be up to the PD if that time comes. I've already contacted DOT and let them know. But I wanted you to know that. The other road that was brought up to me by one of the police officers is Quarry Lane. There's a slow hill right there. At the very end, there's a creek, and sometimes it overflows, but wanted to be able to close that down if they needed to, instead of people sliding down the hill and into the creek. But they have seen that as a potential issue. But just letting you know that those are two places that may end up being closed tomorrow afternoon.
All right, I got one question. I saw before I came in tonight that Spartanburg County's already announced that they're going to shut down their administrative offices at 12 noon tomorrow. I personally have no problem if we shut down at noon if the weather comes in like they're expecting. Who makes that decision?
I would make that decision. What I have told the staff here, because they've already been asking about some of that stuff, is we're going to look at it about 11 or 12 o'clock, and if it really starts coming down, I'm going to go ahead and send them home.
If it happens sooner, then don't delay. We don't want to risk, same thing with our public service employees too. There's far greater risk if the weather moves in and then getting back and forth from work and getting equipment stored.
Let me ask you this question. We talked about the take-home vehicle for Public Works. In times like this, where they may have to come in and work, how do you feel about them taking a vehicle home when there is inclement weather that's coming the next day, or like if we had the storm that came through? Just
What would be the reason to have to take home a public works vehicle other than their car?
because their car wouldn't be able to make it in some of the snow conditions.
I'm not a fan of taking public work vehicles outside the town limits or using it for any other purposes beside town business. That's my opinion.
Okay, we just may have a situation where the Public Works employee may not be able to come into town to be able to do their job.
We have to understand that.
Okay. Skip over 4, let's go down to, after looking into the nature trail with Packlet Milliken, it seems that there was never an actual agreement between the town of Packlet and Packlet Milliken for the trail, or at least none that we could find or that Packlet Milliken can find. I have been in conversations with Spartanburg Parks and Rec, and they would be interested in taking over this, and so they've been talking to Packlet Milliken and are going into an agreement with them about getting an easement to be able to monitor and maintain and administer the trail. In addition to that, they've already talked about, they're already planning to replace the bridge. It was about $10,000, and they're gonna go ahead and take care of that and maintain it and take care of that trail. In addition to that, they have mentioned an interest in T.W. Edwards. They currently have a lease that's going to extend for about another 40 years, so there's really no benefit either way. But for them, and when they talk to their council about investing more dollars into the community, when they own a property versus lease a property, they're much more likely to be able to invest dollars into the community. I'd like, if y'all would be okay with this at a future meeting, it may be February, it may be March, that we have John Woodsby, who's the Director of Parks and Recreation, come and do a presentation to y'all about what are some options with T.W. Edwards Center and what could end up happening if the town would be interested in giving that property to Spartanburg.
What would be the cons to that?
The only cons that I can think of them having that property is the town would not be able to do anything with it. It wouldn't be an asset of the town anymore. If, say, for instance, hypothetically, a developer comes into town and wants to turn that into a mixed-use space with green space, with various types of outdoor recreation, as well as commercial activity around the whole thing, like a city square or a town square kind of thing. That the town wouldn't have the authority to be able to sell that property to them or to work with them on something like that. And it wouldn't be an asset of the town. That would be the other thing.
Currently, the town of Packlet owns that property and leases it to Spartanburg County Parks and Recreation. Right now, a 40-year lease.
Correct.
So they pretty much do what they want for the next 40 years.
Even if we did sell it tomorrow to a developer, they couldn't do anything for 40 years anyway.
They have how much time's left on the lease?
It's about 40 years left on the lease.
Oh, 40 left. Okay.
40.
I would be very interested in that presentation if you could get them here as soon as.
We've discussed some possible things that were mentioned in the master plan and comp plan, some amenities that the town would like to offer its residents, that there may be a possibility if we partner with Spartanburg County and give them that property.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what he has to say.
Next item on there is the Airbnb that we discussed at a previous meeting. I've had conversations with them, end up logging into Airbnb and having a conversation with the property owner and Airbnb and letting them know that they can't have an Airbnb in the town. The property owner lives in Florida and had not gotten our letters, and so through the email or the message that I sent through Airbnb, they now have, and they know what's going on. They stated they had some additional rentals that they wanted to try to take care of for the holiday season, and after that, it sounded like they were going to stop and cease operations and figure out what they're going to do next. I haven't heard anything else from this. Have you heard anything?
No, not since the last correspondence.
Okay. And so at this point, it would be something that the planning commission could take up with the new zoning ordinance to figure out how they want to address that. But as of right now, Airbnbs are not allowed in the town of Packle because they're not specifically mentioned in it. Next council retreat, the council retreat February 1st at the Montgomery Building. I'll give you more information as we get close to that. Skip down to we had a wrap up of our events, and these are the future dates we're looking at. One of the biggest changes that you'll see on there is Paddle the Packlet. Is the plan for Paddle the Packlet is to have that May 17th, so the beginning of the summer versus the end of the summer. And part of the reason for that is that we partner with Vintage View Adventures, which is a company here in town, and instead of promoting activities on the Packlet River and then the season closing, which is what we currently had done because it was in September, is we promote activities on the Packlet River with kayaking at the beginning of the season, and so it kicks off and hopefully we have a lot more activity. On Saturday, January 25th, there will be another bulk waste cleanup day from 9 a.m. to 3 or until the bins are full. Spartan Waste has already approved us for that. We'll need to check on the metal bins on there as well.
Got confirmation just a few minutes ago. He'll have to.
He'll have to? Excellent.
Oh, just wanted to back up. So the Christmas parade is scheduled for an evening parade?
That was something that the committee has been talking about for a while, is wanting to do an evening one so that there's lights on the trailer. A lot of towns are starting to go towards the evening parades because they want to do the lights and stuff on there. That was what was discussed. We still have some time between now and then to make sure. I wanted to make sure, the other thing I'd like to do is to reach out to the existing people who are in the parade and see if they want to have that. From some of the people that our assistant town clerk had talked to, they seemed thrilled about the idea of putting lights and stuff on their trailers as opposed to doing it during the daytime. Work at the Public Works building is underway. The electrical is mostly complete. HVAC and plumbing will start shortly. And then working with a company, an engineering firm to evaluate some stuff at the amphitheater. I'm going to send you that proposal very shortly to what they had. It's kind of pricey, and I think we need to look at some additional quotes on this, but this is for them to evaluate the amphitheater and what structurally it's able to be done and what's the cost moving forward on that. There is a void that I've mentioned before that's underneath the amphitheater. Originally, it was built on the ground, but at some point, water has gotten underneath there. I'm guessing it's water that got underneath there, but there's a large void that's underneath the amphitheater itself where the seats are. And they want to make sure that with that void in there, will the structure be fine, kind of floating above the void? Is there enough structure in there to be able for it to sit, or does the void need to be filled in?
Is it higher or lower, the void? Where's it at?
I've seen where the holes are. They don't know exactly because there's only like small holes to be able to see inside of there. And so that's part of it, is to do some excavating and opening up some of these holes to see how large this whole thing is. But if you go down there and you get on the right-hand side, there are 2 holes down through there. It might be better for us to try to get them through there at night, because it's kind of hard to compete with a phone or a flashlight in there with the sunlight to be able to see how big that void is down there.
Okay.
I did do that. We did do the bulk waste discussion. I can go over it again if you like. Here is your financial statement. What you have in your packet that I have up there is updated from what I originally sent you by email. The numbers, the total numbers have not changed. It's just how they have been categorized. We had some places where the miscellaneous for one was put in a different miscellaneous category. It is probably not the best thing that y'all have looked at, but we're going to work on trying to make it look better and better as we move forward. But this gets you a good idea of where our numbers are so far. This is through November. And if you have any questions on any of these, please let me know or let Tony know, and we'll try to do the best we can of providing you the information on here.
Boards, commissions, and committees.
And so one thing I want to make sure that y'all see on the income statement and
Okay.
the budget is that we are still what's called in our lean months. And so once we get into January, February, March is when you'll see the bulk of the revenue start coming in for the town. In the summertime.
Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on to number 9.
At the last council meeting, it was requested to have planning and BZA meetings after council meetings, not before. The way it was set up, it was the first Monday of the month, and since council is the first Thursday of the month, there were times where the planning commission would vote on something, and then you would only have 2 or 3 days of that new information to then vote on Thursday. And so the way that the schedule is now going to be set up, it's going to be the first Monday following a council meeting, not the second Monday, because there comes a situation sometimes where it ends up being too far away. But I ended up updating that, so here, this is for y'all to look at.
Anybody have any problem with any of those?
Motion to approve the 2025 Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals schedule.
Motion made and second to approve the Planning Commission's Board of Appeals schedule. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
There are two vacancies at this point. Since nothing was appointed at the end of the year, there are two vacancies that are currently on the Board of Zoning Appeals that are ones that are highlighted here. It's up to council to make those appointments, to nominate them and vote on those.
I have a resident that showed interest in serving on the BZA. And since my nominee is one that has expired, I'd like to nominate Joe Parfit to replace for the BZA.
What's the name?
Joe Parfit.
Okay.
Joe
Parfitt.
F-I-T-E or F-I-T? Okay.
We still have one more opening.
There'll be one more.
Last meeting, I spoke with Ms. Lee, and she expressed interest of staying on the board, and she had advised me that she had contacted you. If you haven't heard anything from her, I will reach out to her again.
No, she is. So what ends up happening is even though she wants to stay on there, you've got to renominate her to stay on there. Otherwise, her appointment ends.
Okay, I don't think she was aware of that. She belongs in, she resides in Mr. Wright's district. I don't know if somebody else had somebody to appoint, but if not, I would recommend that she remain on the board.
Is this something we voted on in the past, or is it an appointment, or?
Yes, we vote on this.
We're just feeling it right now. I mean,
Sir?
those two will be okay? I mean, you are.
We have to vote on each
We need to vote on them?
I could, if you want to make a motion to appoint both of them at the same time,
Okay.
Well, if we need to do it separately.
you can do it separately. That's perfectly fine.
I'm not sure how Tom.
Okay. What,
However you want to do it, go ahead. Want to do it together?
That'll be fine.
Okay. Make a motion to appoint Joe Parfit and Rhonda Lee to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded to appoint those two to Board of Appeals, I'm sorry, Zoning Appeals. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
The Construction Board of Appeals, Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals needs board members. There are 5 that need to be on there. Let me just go ahead and read this out. The Building Code of Appeals Board is established and consists 5 members. The board shall consist of members with experience or licenses in one or more of the following trades and fields: architecture, engineering, contracting, building, electrical, gas, and I believe that was changed to mechanical, and plumbing industry. 1 member may carry licenses or the required experience in more than one field or trade. Minimum experience is 5 active and concurrent years of the trade field. Architects and engineers must be licensed. All members shall be residents of Spartanburg County and shall be appointed by the town council to serve without compensation.
I have 2 nominees that are qualified in what we're looking for. I don't, if others don't have nominees.
Do we have to have those tonight?
You don't have to have them tonight. You can do them at a different time. I just wanted to let you know that we need to fill this. It is required that we fill this
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
But you don't have to approve them all tonight. You could approve 1 or 2 of them tonight.
Well, I know we probably need to get it done as,
Yeah, this
quick as we
this board's
can.
been empty for a while.
yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and nominate Anthony Dillinger and Jamie Cooper. That'll at least get us started.
Anthony Dillinger and who?
Jamie Cooper, Jamey, Cooper.
All right,
Would that be like a conflict of interest when there is a, realtor nominated on the Board of Appeals? Because I know Anthony Dillinger is with that Brooks and Wise LLC.
He's not a realtor. The board
Well,
require.
Not a realtor, but he builds homes.
Right. The board requires that he be involved in that.
But would that not be a conflict?
Well, he
It'd
would
only be a
not, he would not
conflict
be allowed to vote on any
if-
project that
If
he's
his
involved in.
project
Yeah.
was appealed, then he would not be able to
Right.
discuss or vote on that particular project.
similar to the way we are.
That doesn't always happen.
But you need to have people who have construction backgrounds.
Anybody, I'm gonna make a suggestion, anybody that's nominated, for this particular board, they have to have certain, qualifications. Before we vote on them, I'd like for you to follow up on those qualifications and, make sure that, they are qualified before we appoint them to a board and, have to go back and replace them or remove them from the board.
One option that I considered on here,
Well, the council received that information, not just him, but the council.
Yeah, I'd like, verification,
Yeah.
to be able to see it for myself.
one option that we could do, if you'd like, is I can create a board member application. And so at that point, they can put their resume on there, and so that we can verify that what's in their resume is true and they actually do have verified construction experience.
That's cool. You okay with it?
Sure, as long as it, board doesn't remain empty forever. Can we do
We
that?
need to
in a
be
t-
thinking about, if y'all need, know anybody who could fill this board, we need to make, sure they're on board soon.
Yeah.
Okay, go on to 10, unfinished business. You're gonna create a, application, you said?
We'll create an application, and so once that application is created, I'll send that out to y'all by email, and then
Okay.
you can send that out to anybody who's interested, they can fill it out and return it, both to you, but we'll need to have that. We can verify all their construction background information, and then at that point, present that at the next council meeting for
Okay,
them. The next item on here is based off of conversations that I've had with some council members about compensation with being on council. It's my understanding that it's been.
You're jumping ahead.
well, you jumped ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Unfinished business there.
What did I? Oh, I'm sorry. This is the
I
y'all
don't see that.
Consider
I know,
approving
okay,
the contract for building inspection
but I don't
and
see
code
it.
enforcement.
I didn't see
I
that.
don't see it either. I kept looking for it too, but it's not in the packet.
Not in the packet.
No, we're on 10A. We're on
10A.
item 10A.
You don't have it?
No.
Can we make copies?
Back page, back of the page.
It's on the back.
Look here, all the way on the back, all the way.
You find them? The contracts were part of the
no.
original proposals.
What is it? No, I don't have that.
I don't
On the
think
front.
it's the
On
agenda
the front,
item she's
go to
talking
the
about.
front and turn it, right there.
Oh, yeah, see, yeah, I'm saying, I don't have that he's just now showing. Oh. What is that?
Do what now?
I thought it was in their packet on there.
You don't have what?
This, that he's showing
The
here
draft.
on the
That,
screen.
right there.
Yeah, it's over here.
Oh, my gosh.
That was in the packet.
Have you got something that looks like that in the beginning?
See, it was in the packet.
It's in the packet.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, the one next behind is it.
So it's on here if y'all are are interested in going ahead and approving one or the other, or whomever that what you want to move forward with, if you want to just discuss, this is an opportunity for y'all to talk about in general.
I would, because you sent this email out at 5:19 Monday afternoon, and that really only gives Tuesday. Wednesday I have church. There's just no time for me personally.
And when we sent out the RFP, it came in at 2 o'clock on Monday. But this is a chance if y'all would like to just talk in general together about not necessarily the contracts, but the different proposals, anything that's out there that y'all would like to talk about.
It's a lot of stuff.
Need to know what y'all need to do.
I think I need more time to look at it. That's a lot to digest really in a day's time for me. I don't know how y'all feel about it.
Okay, y'all wanna wait and table it, or?
So the existing contract, we extended the contract, or the council extended the contract for RCI through the end of February, first, I believe, day or two in March. So you would have until the end of the month in February to make that determination with someone. Y'all have the opportunity to wait until next meeting to make a decision on this.
I got one question, and I'll address it to you, and I don't know if you have the answer or not, but if we elect to go with one of the other 3 different options or 4 different options, how quickly could they be up and running? If we wait till February council meeting and vote on this, can they be up and running the first week in March?
I'd like, are they still here? Yes, sir. Do you mind coming up?
No, sir. I would need about 3 weeks in order to get all the information into the portal. So we have GIS information that goes into the iWork program, setting up the town for emails and access, so I would need more time.
So our next meeting is the first Thursday in February. You would need approximately 3 to 4 weeks after that before you could begin.
Yeah, I could probably push them to make it 2, but I have to push them in order to do it. I don't program all the portals. I'm good. They
That
have
would
to do
still be
that
in
themselves.
March. 'Cause
You'd have about 24 days.
Yeah.
I think it's March 2nd technically is when the
Yeah.
contract with RCI is up.
Yeah.
So that's a little over 3
And if we
weeks.
lack coverage for a day or 2, it's not going to make or break the time.
No.
All right, I think since Teresa needs some more time, and Jason takes high interest in this particular part of our voting, I'm gonna make a motion that we table this till next meeting, in hopes that everybody will review this, and we'll have a decision made that we can vote on one way or the other then.
Okay, we have a motion to table it.
Second.
Any questions? No, okay, in a second. Any questions? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Okay, new business. Consider the first reading of ordinance to increase annual compensation of the mayor and the council.
So it's my understanding that council has not had an increase or substantial increase in at least 50 years. And so wanted to get you guys more in line with what's currently out there. Did a study based on what's currently available to other municipalities. And as you can see on here, the town of Pacolet is about in line or very close to Campobello. Is at the bottom in terms of pay scale on there. It is a big jump, what I'm proposing on here, but it has been increased in a very long time.
Did you say 15 or 50 years?
He's saying 50, but it's kind of jumps back and forth.
Since the 70s, that's when this was set?
I was just talking to Tony, and I mean, I base everything based on how long Tony's been here. And
here's my thoughts on this. This is obviously an awkward, uncomfortable vote that I don't think anyone really wants to do. Oh, okay. So,
Now,
I don't-
keep in
I don't-
mind,
Let me back up. I don't want to speak for anyone. I'm just gonna
the way this
some
is
ideas.
done, and I want to make sure this is very clear, if y'all vote in favor of this, it does not take effect
Until
until
January.
January of next year.
26.
That's fine, I think everybody deserves it, whether it's me or whoever come in after me.
Well,
It's been almost 50 years, yeah,
I
it's
have been
time.
asking since I've been here.
It's time,
So,
yeah.
Well, yeah, which, we're not talking about a whole lot of money either way.
Right, so,
right, my thought, what I was just gonna throw out there, and it's, might be a moot point, is that, I mean, I have no intentions of voting a raise for myself. I know whether we deserve it or not. I mean, I probably spend more on gas than $800 doing town stuff, so it's probably justified. I'm just gonna throw an idea out there, though. We could alter this where we vote for an increase that doesn't take effect till, the next election in our districts. That way, again, I'm just not comfortable voting to take taxpayer dollars. Even if,
No, they would
even
vote
if
for it, but
we,
it would go into
it's
effect
obviously a
for
thankless job, and
4 of them in January, and 4 of them.
what I mean by the district elections is, like, for example, I had an election in about a year ago, so I wouldn't be eligible till after 2028. But somebody has to do it at some point. If we're going on 50 years, at some point we have to increase it. I don't know about if 2,000 is the number. Maybe we could match Cowpens, 1,800.
Y'all are actually bigger than Cowpens. That's one thing that y'all,
Well,
y'all are bigger than Cowpens, by about 1,000 people. Your budget is bigger. And then this is just this is a fun piece of information for you, because I checked into this. Square footage, or square miles, the town of Packlet is the 5th largest in square miles, in Spartanburg County. So it starts off Spartanburg, Greer, Welford, Duncan, Packlet. Packlet is larger than Woodruff in terms of square miles.
We seem much smaller.
I'm
When
not
y'all
saying
annexed
it's,
in 800 acres into the town,
I'm not saying it's not warranted. I'm just saying it's politically tricky. There's people already that are gonna use this to, beat on us. They're already doing it preemptively. Yeah. Right. I agree.
Well,
if whoever wants to make a
even
motion.
if you get an increase, none of us are gonna get rich, I'll tell you that.
We have a motion.
Right.
Unless,
I second it to consider the first reading of the ordinance to increase annual compensation of mayor and council.
I second it.
do what now? What'd you say? I'm
I
sorry.
make a motion.
She made a motion.
And I second the motion.
It's a motion and a second to go with the, the numbers that he said. Okay. Any questions? Any comments? All in favor? All opposed?
I remain neutral.
So the way our ordinance states, that if you do not vote, it is a vote in favor.
In favor, yeah.
That's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So how we gonna work?
So
Okay, passed.
there was a vote, 1, 2,
Was there two?
Three, yeah, three.
Three and three.
Three.
Three for the women, three in.
I don't have to vote unless it's tied.
You said that if I didn't vote, it would be considered a vote in favor, so I'm okay with that.
I think we
Two.
still need a 4th
Two.
person.
2, none, and I don't have to vote unless it's a tie.
Well,
It is a tie.
It is a tie.
Okay?
3 ladies
Then
volunteered.
I'm with Rick then.
If I don't vote, it means that I'm
So it's all for it then.
Everybody's, I guess, so you're all in favor of this,
I'm
right?
not gonna get upset over getting $7 a week raise.
Are we counting this as all in favor? Okay.
Okay, mayor comments and mayor and council comments? Or new business, we got that. All right, what, Rick?
I have one question, it'd be under something in the past, anything on Mr. Lambert's,
I will press our state representative more on that, but I've sent him, I've called him, but I will push him more on that.
if you don't mind, copying me on the email,
I will.
so I can see his response, if not, I'll call his personal number. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where are we with the limb cleanup with the state?
Ma'am?
State limb cleanup and logs and
The state has already begun. They're gonna be in a different location than the county is. The county slash the town of Packlet is at Lighthouse parking lot out there, or that area. I'm not sure where the state is, but they are working through theirs as well. If you know of any additional stuff that's out there, please let me know, but they are making additional word I'm looking for. Routes or relooks at those properties to make sure everything is picked up. But as far as I know, they're still picking stuff up right now.
Our local guys are still getting to do limb pickup, weather permitting, correct?
Yes, they are still doing everything weather permitting, and what I have instructed them on is anybody who is on a state road, to wait on them and to kind of go towards the stuff that's local roads, because the state will come through and get that and pay for 100% of the cost on there. With the local roads, there may be a possibility that we may have to pay something, so I wanted them to focus on that.
Is there a way that we can get in touch with those people if we need to?
Absolutely. If you know of somebody who hasn't been picked up yet, please let me know ASAP. And I got both groups on speed dial. I can call both of them.
Okay.
There's that place on Anderson, right up here across from Layla's.
They just put it
This-
out.
Yes, so I saw that and I was like, is that from something and they didn't have anywhere to put it, or is it a tree? Cause I know there's some trees that's been
Some of the trees down.
down round behind it, if they've just done that and just hauled it up there, because it's in that whole front of that house right there
Yeah.
on Anderson.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's what I was worried about, state or town,
Yeah.
cause that's a huge tree.
All right.
One comment.
Go ahead.
We have a meeting, a stakeholder meeting for the park tomorrow morning. I assume that's not being rescheduled.
That is
because
not
of
being
weather.
rescheduled. So right now, I believe it's Ms. Wofford, Mr. Williams, Mr. Canby, Ms. Sexton, and Mr. Chris Harris, I believe. That are part of that.
What time?
And I wanted to make a comment, I mean, I work, which I know some of these others here do too. So if they're always scheduled in the AM like that, and I work in Greer, I would pretty much have to take a day off or a half a day just to attend one. Why can't they not be held, like after 5, when those people who do work can't attend it? Because I see that it's an unfairness to me, because, some of these, Ned doesn't work, I mean, he works for himself for his house, I don't know, and they're right here local, they can like leave and do it and come right back, so.
So I talked to the company about that. They did not think that an evening would be good, because part of this is to walk the property. This is not just look at some plans and make some comments. And they were worried that if we did it in the evening time or after work, they would be starting to get dark that's out there.
Well, they want about a Saturday, or they wouldn't do it, off, between, I guess, working hours.
They tried to do it during the week. That was,
So I'm
So-
going to, this is the teacher in me, I'm going to suggest, so sometimes when you can't meet in person, could someone like team meet her in the
Yeah, I
meeting
guess.
on the phone
Or
or
something.
the tablet, so she can be present
comment?
Yeah, I believe as long as there's a decent Wi-Fi signal at the coffee shop, we should be able to do that.
Will that work?
Is
Does that
at
work
that
for you?
time?
Yeah,
So
Okay.
when we get there, I'll see if I'll pull my laptop out and see if we can remote you in, either probably through Zoom.
yeah, I mean, cause I have interest in it, and
Mm.
it just seemed kind of
Yeah,
totally unfair to someone who
yeah.
works and whatever.
Well, and another thing I could talk to them about is, I could have them come back at another time and talk with you after they've had a chance to talk with them. Because we're gonna have, one of the things that's gonna have to happen is Norfolk Southern's gonna have to weigh in on this too. And Norfolk Southern's not coming tomorrow. So it won't be tomorrow and we're done. Norfolk Southern still has to weigh in on this too. So you'll have time to make some comments after, even if, you know, I'll work with them and I'll see if there's a time, if you can give me a time during the week, or if it's best after 5, or if there's any time at all during the week that would work for you, I'll have them come back out to meet you if you need to, if you want to do that. But I'll also see if we'll also try to remote you in tomorrow morning.
What
But I'll-
time was that meeting?
It's at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Are you sure it's 9? Is it 9? That was 10.
I thought it was
I thought
10,
it was 1:30.
but I mean, 9 maybe.
9 or 10 is fine. I thought it was 10.
I had it down for 1:30 myself.
You would have been late.
I have it at 9 tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm glad I brought it up.
9 is it? That's good. That's fine.
Motion to
Okay,
adjourn?
wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
You have comments?
Sorry.
Comments down,
No.
how about April? You good? Good, you good? Okay, I'm good.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion second to adjourn, all in favor? So moved.
If you, I'd love for you